Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today, and over the weekend we got the biggest, the best news of all time. That being that reports were saying Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Matty's favorite game ever, is finally being remade. After years of begging, it very well may happen. Now there was one piece of information in the original source that I want to hyper focus on in today's video and talk about a potentially realistic, scary reality with a Knights of the Old Republic remake. So what we're going to do is reread the quote from Cinelinx, the people who had broke this story in the first place, and then I'll get into why this could be a little frightening for the Knights of the Old Republic series. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't want to fearmonger. That's not how I build my channel, but I think this is a very realistic conversation to have that we had with both BioShock as well as Borderlands 3. Let's get into it. According to one source, the previously mentioned Knights of the Old Republic remake is back in development. My other source added to that saying they felt it wasn't so much a remake as in from the ground up recreating the first game, but a sequel of sorts. It would be a Knights of the Old Republic project that would integrate elements from the first two games in order to bring certain things into the current Star Wars canon. Not necessarily a remake so much as a reimagining. Now, the particular sentence I want to focus on is integrating elements from the first two games in order to bring certain things into the current Star Wars canon. I think that in of itself sort of confirms the other rumor we had heard for a while that a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic movie was in development, which likely means that this remake is sort of being created parallel to that movie. They're deciding what certain things from KOTOR can make it into Star Wars canon. Does this mean that we're going to see things like drastic companion changes, story changes, how the plot unfolds? Will there even be star maps? How will Knights of the Old Republic be delivered? Reimagining one of the strongest RPGs of all time. I know that's coming from me, but I think a lot of people agree with that. Reimagining something that's already great brings about an old term that many of us have used in the past. If it's not broken, don't fix it, right? And the scary reality here that we need to face is that if these reports are accurate, which I think given the history of this reporter, where they were correct about the Obi-Wan TV show, they did break that news. And of course, based off what I had personally heard that I mentioned in my original KOTOR remake video, I think that this is more than likely true. Is there a chance it gets put into stasis again? Yes, but as it stands, this project very much exists. You can even go back to Jason Schreier, who is a reporter from Kotaku who breaks a lot of news and rumors. He had even said it existed, but he also mentioned that that project was in stasis and sort of shut down the potential of a KOTOR remake coming sooner than people had expected. Like I said though, the reimagining brings about a scary realization that a lot can change with this game series, right? And I don't want to act like it can't be for the better, because certainly I think the story is the strongest part of KOTOR. It's a real compelling reason why people love this series, because both games tell strong tales that rely heavily upon each other, include lots of excellent choice. And when you start to tinker with that, that's one of those, if it's not broken, don't fix it moments. If you want to touch up the gameplay, change little things like that, certainly I think we can get into that in a completely separate video of what could change. To quickly go over it, combat elements, there needs to be more abilities, skills need a little bit of an overhaul. I like the feat system, but build out more with that, give us more to tool our characters up with. A lot of the footwork is done with KOTOR, which is why I've been saying that if they want to build upon it, build out the system, retain what's already there and just continuously build upon it, that would be okay with me. But I just don't see that happening. As it stands now, we don't know who is currently working on this project according to this article, but if we go back to the one from 2015 when the KOTOR remake news had first popped up, it was stated that BioWare Austin was working on this project. Quite honestly, ladies and gentlemen, my confidence in BioWare died with Inquisition. I know for a lot of people it was dead and buried when it came to Anthem, but for me, Inquisition was the nail in the coffin when I realized this is not the developer that I loved all those years ago who brought me Jade Empire, Dragon Age Origins, KOTOR, of course. That's not the same BioWare. For me, I felt that game was a drastic move away from everything that company had become known for. There were some still strong storytelling moments, but I felt overall they had lost their touch of delicately balancing a solid gameplay system and focusing on what their best strength was, which was making impactful choices, empowering the player, and making the story compelling without feeling overall bloated. Now, Anthem for a lot of people was the last straw, and of course I totally understand why. Anthem came out fairly broken, lackluster. There were so many issues with it that you couldn't even begin to get started, and the issue was that these weren't problems in the game that could have been patched out. They were things that were baked into the product that require a full-on overhaul, which we've also heard rumors about. A lot of people are in the same boat when it comes to both BioWare and Bethesda. We want to see them bounce back. We're not a fan of them right now, but we would love to see these companies bounce back. And how could I forget about Mass Effect Andromeda? I'll be honest, that game plays great. The gameplay in Andromeda is excellent. I love how it feels. But the story, once more, what was formerly BioWare's strength, was lackluster. It was so lackluster, in fact, that they put the entire Mass Effect series into stasis. You know, they shut it down. Like, that's how poorly received it was. That's how much of a nightmare the game was to not only work on, get out the door, but also how it was received by fans. And so that's a real shame that BioWare's just been swinging and missing constantly. As someone who can confidently say old school BioWare, like I said, people who brought me KOTOR, Jade Empire, and Dragon Age Origins, easily, hands down, my favorite developer of all time in that period of gaming. No questions whatsoever. So that's why it's scary to think of current BioWare taking elements of KOTOR out, not just remastering the game or remaking it from the ground up and trying to retain everything as much as possible, but trying to decide what certain things will carry into current Star Wars canon when their storytelling ability has already sunk into an all-time low. It is exciting at the possibility of getting a new KOTOR game, do not get me wrong, and you bet your bottom dollar, whatever expensive ass version comes out, I'm buying it. Look, like, I get it. I will be the first to admit, because I've asked for this for how many years? Like 6, 7? Like, I've asked for this for so long. Like, I even remember before I started making videos doing research on KOTOR 3 and how that was supposed to be an Xbox 360 game and what would have been in a world where KOTOR 3 existed. Would I have wanted a Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 HD remaster? Would KOTOR 1 and 2 have received some type of HD touch-up already if a KOTOR 3 had come out and been some form of success? Those are the things I thought about a lot. So for me personally, does this deter me from purchasing at all? No. And should it deter you? I don't think so. Ultimately, what the idea behind these scary reality videos is to inform you, to make sure you guys know things are going to be different. It's exactly what I said with BioShock coming back. A lot of people were like, oh my God, it's going to be like Infinite or BioShock 1. And I posted job listings showing monetization experts and how they were building out multiplayer for the game, and it seemingly was going to be a live service title. And that's the point of that video, was to say, hey, the scary reality here is this series is coming back in a way that will be unfamiliar to a lot of people, and that will upset you. So the sooner you get a grip with that, the easier it will be to digest and just see what the game is for itself, instead of fighting through emotions in the meantime. Same thing goes here. I'm going through that process now. I'm expecting when I see KOTOR coming back, it's going to be unrecognizable in some ways. I'll see planets, I'll know what they are in a heartbeat, but I'm talking about the gameplay, some of the story, how it's delivered, new cutscenes. I mean, this game is from 2003, so it's going to be unfamiliar. Just know there are going to be some significant changes with the remake. I wasn't told by a source that, just generally speaking, if they remake this game, it does actually happen. It's going to look very different from what KOTOR we loved growing up. So that'll do it for me, ladies and gentlemen. That is the scary reality of a KOTOR remake. I just wanted to get into that in a separate video here today and just share my more extensive thoughts on the ideas of significant changes to a series and what that can mean for the franchise moving forward. I just hope it doesn't end up being one of those games that's like a black sheep or a plague on an otherwise fantastic franchise. I think that would make me more sad than no remake or remaster whatsoever. But I'd love to hear from all of you in the comments down below. What do you think of this KOTOR remake? Is the idea of a reimagining scary to you guys? Let me know. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons who continue to support my fight for a KOTOR remake. I appreciate each and every single one of you, and I'll talk with all of you soon. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.